Selecting the right exam is imperative to your certification journey. After determining you are eligible, ensure you apply for the appropriate exam level, either a SHRM Certified Professional, SHRM-CP, or a Senior Certified Professional, SHRM-SCP. How do you make that decision? Here's a tricky part. Just because you are eligible to take the more senior certification exam doesn't mean you should automatically take it. Hi, I'm Christina Danforth with HR Jetpack, a top SHRM Education Partner helping hundreds of HR pros like you pass their SHRM certification exam. In this video, I'll go over what you'll need to consider when deciding which exam to take, the SHRM-CP or the SHRM-SCP. Stay until the end, and I'll review an essential component to understanding the difference, the proficiency indicators. Now, let's say you have at least 3 years of experience performing strategic level HR-related duties. You will qualify for the SHRM-SCP, but you might not want to take the SCP exam. Why? The key difference between the exams is in the questions and their level of difficulty. It's all about the HR pro's actual experience and work performed in the HR function. Think about your resume or profile. All those tasks and achievements you list under each of your positions you've held. All those work-related activities are what will really determine which exam you should apply for. Let's dig a little deeper. For the SHRM-CP certification, an HR pro is expected to focus on completing day-to-day HR-related activities. Their primary work is operational in nature, meaning they support and/or provide HR services. For instance, if the HR manager is posting a job, screening candidates, interviewing, and making the offer, they're actually completing the recruiting operation. Or if the HR manager is implementing a disciplinary policy by meeting with a fellow manager, providing guidance and helping them discipline their employee, they are carrying out an employee relations activity. For the SHRM-SCP, an HR pro is expected to not only have handled the day-to-day HR-related activities, but also those of a more strategic nature. The senior certified professional probably has more years of experience. Again, it goes back to their actual experience and work performed. For example, if the HR manager or HR business partner is developing a strategy for workforce management aligned with other organizational goals, they are working at a senior level. Or let's say they are developing a particular policy for risk management purposes or leading the entire HR function, they are a senior level HR professional. The key words here are developing, leading, and strategic. Whereas the HR pro, who is only focused on operational activities, is implementing and supporting. These key words are used within the proficiency indicators in the SHRM body of applied skills and knowledge. The proficiency indicators define the difference between the two exam levels, the CP versus the SCP. More on this in a moment. Now, a more senior HR pro may also be completing day-to-day HR-related work too. It doesn't mean they wouldn't have these responsibilities in addition to fulfilling strategic objectives or bigger picture organizational goals. However, if an HR pro hasn't focused on strategically related activities, they should consider applying for the CP. With that being said, I've had plenty of students who are eligible for the SCP but had little strategic experience. They applied for the SCP anyway and passed. It really comes down to you and your specific goals. SHRM recommends that your exam selections start with reviewing the eligibility criteria on their website. If you're still unsure, you should think about the following. Number 1, your HR experience and work performed in the HR function. Do you spend your time only focused on day-to-day operational work? Or do you also have the opportunity to take on those strategic initiatives aligning the HR department's goals with those of the organization? And number 2, the depth of your HR knowledge and experience. The exams cover all those competencies and functional areas critical to your success as an HR pro. There are proficiency indicators for each of the 9 behavioral competencies and 14 functional areas in the SHRM-BASK summary document. You can find the SHRM-BASK summary document on SHRM's website. I'll add a link in the description. What is a proficiency indicator? The term proficiency means having a high degree of knowledge or expertise. HR professionals are expected to have a certain level of expertise or proficiency in each competency, subcompetency, and functional area. The word indicator is just as the name implies, an indication of expertise expected for that competency, subcompetency, or functional area. There is one set of proficiency indicators for all HR professionals and an additional set of proficiency indicators for advanced HR professionals. The SHRM-BASK summary document outlines and defines these proficiency indicators. These are key to understanding what is expected of all HR professionals and more advanced HR professionals in relation to each of the competencies and functional areas. If you meet those more advanced expectations identified in the SHRM-BASK summary document, then you will most likely want to apply for the SHRM-SCP. Students will often hear me say, you don't need to be perfect, just proficient, meaning you need to meet the proficiency expectations set forth by the SHRM-BASK. These are very high standards, and being proficient means you can pass your exam. On a side note, some exam applicants take the CP and then the SCP in the same exam window. SHRM allows candidates to take both levels within that time frame. I've had more than one student who took the CP, passed, and then realized they probably should have gone for the SCP. Soon after, they applied for the SCP, passed, and became a senior certified professional. However, it's important to note you cannot take the same level exam twice within the same exam window. In other words, if you take the SCP and do not pass, you cannot take it again until the next exam window. This is Christina Danforth with HR Jetpack. If you found any of this information valuable, please remember to subscribe to the HR Jetpack YouTube channel. That way, you will be notified when we launch future videos.